Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Call Up, the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Prospect Show with your co-hosts Marty Tallman and Cristian Crespo. Today, we are going to break down one of the most exciting teams in all of baseball, especially when we look at their farm system and everything that they're developing, the Detroit Tigers. Woo! I'm super excited for this one. As you can see, today we have a very special guest. I consider him the godfather of Detroit Tigers baseball. He is the co-owner of the Tigers Minor League Report. He is a co-host of the Tigers Radio Pod. He is the co-expert at Motor City Bengals, writing, reading. He's doing it all. And you can find him at Twitter at RojCastBaseball. Rogelio Castillo, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
Pretty good. I got to say, outside of the cold weather here in Michigan, everything's pretty good.
Yeah, and Cristian and I were talking about it yesterday because he's in Florida and he was telling me, 40s, 30s, 40s is cold for him. And when he said that, I was looking at about 7 degrees here on the thermometer, which is absolutely freezing. Cristian, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm ready to get going.
He's ready to get going. And this one's going to be very special. Roger has been following these players, in person for years. Same thing with Cristian. So without further ado, let's just hop into the top 10 because I think this is going to be a super good one. And let's start off with Riley Greene. So 2019 draft pick. He was drafted 5th overall, signed a $6.18 million signing bonus. 21-year-old outfielder out of Paul J. Haggerty High School. Roger, I want to start with you. Is Riley Greene your number one prospect in the Tiger system?
Yeah, he's been our number one prospect over at Motor City Bengals for this will be the second year of the list, and it's easy to see why because at his age and what he's able to do and the adjustments he makes at every level is something phenomenal. And for the Tigers, they haven't had a prospect like this. And I mean, you have to go back to the Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker days in terms of age of prospect that's just been developing like this. And even the way he's approached himself in the outfield, the routes he takes, and just an overall complete player. And when as soon as he struggles on something, you see a month later, the data he picks it right back up. And every time he goes to a new level, it's just once he adjusts, it's pretty crazy how good he is.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we've seen, about 2 years ago. I think Spencer Torkelson was everyone's number one guy. And then what we've seen develop here is Greene just I see him more as the number one prospect on list than Spencer Torkelson at this point. Cristian, why is he your number one guy?
This guy's a tank. I mean, I saw him when he was first drafted, and the way he has developed into the player that he is now is just incredible. He drafted right out of high school, came in, went to a short season affiliate in Connecticut, and just hit the ground running, easy. And then he got promoted to low A, same thing. He struggled a little bit and then immediately picked it back up. One of the hardest working guys out there. I mean, overall, just 5-tool capability. Like he's going to be so much fun to watch at the big league level just because of everything all the extra efforts and little things that he puts into his development. It's going to be fun to watch for a long time.
Yeah, and as the Detroit Tigers kind of come into their own, they're developing their young arms. They have a lot of talent, top-heavy talent in their farm system. Where do you see his ETA as far as an arrival to really helping out this club?
I think he's going to be up this year. He's
love to hear
that. I mean, just the pace that he's developing in, he has shown at every level what he's capable of doing. And he, like Rogelio said, every time you think he's struggling, he immediately knows what to do to fix it. And it's so quick. And it's like every aspect of his game just seems like he's ready to take that next challenge. Yeah. And, it might not be up right at the beginning, but he'll be up this year for sure.
Is that what you think too, Rogelio?
Yeah, it really depends on what happens here with the labor negotiations right now and how they're going to, whether manipulation will be part of the process or not. But even then, you will be up with the team. In terms of outfielders, the Tigers outfield depth right now across the system is very shallow at best. I mean, I'm being polite here with that, but I think that he needs, in overall, you look at the difference between him and Akil Badu, you can put Greene in center field or in the corner spot. And I think he's one of the best outfielders that's not even on the current 26-man roster right now. He's that good.
Yeah, and I mean he can man center field easily. Like the web gem plays that he makes and in the outfield are incredible. Like he has that range, he has the speed. His closeout speed is incredible.
Do you guys have a player comp for him? I'll start with you, Cristian.
For me, it's kind of like Grady Sizemore.
So actually, I kid you not, Cristian. I was thinking the same thing. Like it's just
like every tool, like the speed, the defense, the hit tool, the power that comes with it. Grady Sizemore could have been one of the best outfielders to ever play the game if it wasn't for injuries. And that's just the kind of player that I see in Riley.
Same thing for you.
Yeah, same thing because of his twitchiness and just his twitch ability at the plate. And he's so quick with his hands. I mean, yesterday I posted on Twitter a slow motion. When I was on July 1st, I was out in Erie, and I just slowed down his swing, and even the ball's coming in so late, but then you just see him just drop, like just ready to go, and like just how quick he is. And Sizemore, Sports Illustrated curse, wherever that nonsense is, aside, once you injure your knee or get in the back and it's persistent, it makes it hard. But I think Greene also kind of reminds me in a way sometimes too of a young Bernie Williams before he kind of bulked up a little bit and started hitting more for power. But that's just an old man comp right there for myself.
Well, I feel like the last 2 years, like we've already talked about, his expectations for him have just gone through the roof. And anytime that you're able to have Spencer Torkelson as your number 2 prospect, looks like you're in pretty good shape. So let's hop over to him. So without any further ado, Torkelson, he's a 22-year-old first baseman / third baseman. We'll talk about that. Out of ASU 2020 draft, he was the first overall pick, signed an $8.4 million signing bonus. Woo! Huge prospect here. Rogelio, I want to hear your thoughts on Torkelson and kind of where you see him, not only for this upcoming year, but overall as a career.
One of the things that it was funny, we had Kevin Goldstein from Fangraphs, and he said that really tomato when it comes to number 1, number 2, that either or you can go with in terms of rankings with Torkelson. But one of the things that we saw early on when we saw him out in West Michigan, he struggled early on. He struggled with, he was taking too many pitches, wasn't aggressive enough. And then quickly early on, you had some of these. I have to ignore Twitter sometimes because these fans are like, oh, he's already no. Just give him time. And then he started coming through. He started hitting home runs. He started to hit with power. He started hitting all fields. And the biggest thing I noticed towards the end of the season when he was at AAA Toledo is that he started trying to go to right. And at first, it was kind of like a mixed bag of results. But then he started hitting lasers to right, and to try to adjust his game as he went to every level in terms of trying to even just hit, not necessarily get a home run. It just showed the kind of vision he has at the plate. And I think that even at first base, he showed really good flexibility. At third base, I saw him as an average fielder and that's fine. But what you're going to get from him in terms of a career standpoint, I know there's the comp comes to Jim Thome. I think this is a guy who could possibly, you look at 25, 30 home runs a season, maybe 100 RBIs, depending on how the Tigers construct their lineup. But at first everybody was kind of bullish on him, but I mean, it's just to see that adjustment to go from low A to high A to triple A in 1 year like that. It's just, I keep forgetting West Michigan's in high A. And it's just to see that adjustment so quickly in his first pure professional baseball, that says something.
Cristian, how about you?
What you said about his ability to, make those changes in his approach and stuff, it actually goes to the way he is in the batting cages. In spring training last year, he is such a cerebral player. Like even when he's not struggling, he's in the cages just focusing on another aspect of his game that he knows he can improve on. And hitting the ball hard to the opposite field is something he really looked to try to improve on going into last season. And the way he was able to translate it over, it was so much fun to watch. And like you said, he struggled when he first got there, but it didn't last long. And then once he got going, because not only was he crushing baseballs, he was drawing his walks. He was way more selective at the plate with the pitches that he knew he would be able to crush, whether it was the first pitch of the at bat or he drew full counts and able to, just make an impact on the baseball. And the defense at third base isn't anything spectacular. It's average defender at best. But what he's going to be able to produce at the plate for a long time too, even in Comerica, I mean, he's going to be able to hit the ball hard to all fields. He's going to make the ballpark look tiny. And if he doesn't hit him out, he's going to hit him off the wall, and he's going to get a lot of doubles, a lot of extra base hits. So you can think to the Nicholas Castellanos types in regards to that. Might not have the same speed that Castellanos had going up, but you think of that, and then you think of the power, more power than Castellanos, kind of more like Pete Alonso type power. Just like a big, imposing figure, but just a way better approach at the plate.
Yeah, and you guys talked about adversity, right? So coming up, being at the AAA level and having a little bit of adversity and being able to overcome that, because the magnifying glass on him is huge, not only here in Detroit, but throughout the country. Anytime you're number one overall, that's going to be a huge deal to everybody. And I'm so glad he was able to break out of that and do it in spectacular fashion, because he is absolutely incredible. Just want to touch on this really quick. Do we see him at third base at all in the majors, or is he going to be a first baseman?
They might try it right at the beginning, but he'll quickly move over. But one thing I wanted to bring up with the struggles is you think about, where he played college and where he's from. He's from Arizona.
Yep.
He's not used to the cold. So when he first got to West Michigan, that's a, way different environment. So, I mean, at first it's about getting acclimated, and it's those little things that people don't really pay much attention to. They just think, oh, he's a superior talent, he should show up and just automatically be able to produce. And, it's the surroundings. You have to get accustomed to it. You have to adjust your body, your approach, the way you handle yourself before a game to get ready for it. It's way different.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And one of the things too about that that class too is he was one of 4 Arizona State players drafted within. I mean, it was of course a 5-round draft, but still, it shows the kind of powerhouse that Arizona State is. And to beat Barry Bonds' record, which stood for close to 40 years, I believe, something like to that effect, that says something about him as being a special player. And it's not just a hype thing with him. And again, every time we posted a home run on Tiger Minor Report, bring him up. It's like, that's not how it works. So I have to tell myself, I have to not yell at people about that and be just, I don't want to be pretentious about it, but it is an adjustment from going to seeing no spin or low spin. You don't see a lot of good pitchers in high A at the Midwest League. To be fair to say, it's a lot of college guys who are still, they got some spin. Double A, you see more of that. You see more advanced pitching there. And even Triple A, those veterans who are just trying to stick around, they're going to throw everything at you to get another call up. So
do we see Torkelson coming up this year?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
There's honestly, why not?
Forget the CBA. He going to be there. He probably might be there opening day. So
yeah, good. Exactly. In the Tigers first baseman situation, you look at Cabrera, can't do the position every day. They try to scope out, which is fine, but you really need scope at second base because this whole idea that, well, the Tigers might sign. No. I mean, I think Baez is going to be your opening day shortstop. You put Scope there, you platoon Torkelson, or just make Cabrera the full-time DH and have Torkelson play first base, first day. We shall see, but yeah, he's definitely going to be here this year.
Yeah, 2022 is going to be super exciting at the major league level because of that. All right, let's hop into Christian's number 3 prospect, Jackson Jobe, 19-year-old right-hand pitcher out of Heritage Hall High School in the 2021 draft. Another very high draft pick, 3rd overall, signed a $6.9 million signing bonus. Woo! They gave that boy some money. Cristian, break down your number 3 guy for me.
So the picture you put there, I don't know if you noticed the glove, but he played shortstop.
Yeah, I purposely chose that one because I thought he looked cool, but I was a little confused.
I mean, yeah, it definitely does, but it just goes to show the athlete that he is. The fact that he was, throwing mid to upper 90s and spinning a slider with over 3,000 RPMs, he's one of the highest heralded, pitching prospects coming out of high school since Dylan Bundy. And that's the comparison that a lot of people had made to him. Just, that's a high profile arm. And, a lot of people thought going into the draft that the Tigers were, should have taken a shortstop. And when Marcelo Mayer fell past, 1 and 2, everybody was like, oh, they got to take the shortstop, got to take a short. But no, there's a reason why they took Jackson Jobe. And it's because of his production on the mound, his ability to execute all of his pitches the way he does, lives up and lower part of the zone. Yeah, and like I said, the breaking ball is just incredible. And he's going to continue to develop. He's very young, 19 years old. So they're going to take their time. And the Tigers have done a really good job when it comes to developing pitching. I mean, Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal, Matt Manning, they're all in the big leagues already. And there's no reason why that they shouldn't take the same approach now with Jobe.
What about for you, Rogelio? Where does he rank on the Motor City Bengals top 10 or prospect list, and how do you feel about him?
Well, for me, it's the fact that he is a son of a golfer, and the reason why I mention that is because I find, in my experience, in my opinion, that guys who come from a multi-sport athlete who are not exactly the sons of baseball players tend to be, I think, a little more athletic. There's a lot more to them a little bit. They're not just focusing on one sport. Not to say he didn't play other sports, but I think that gives somebody like him an advantage. He has a father who's given him that experience as a pro golfer, for one. For two, I think what I've seen in video, that slider is ridiculous. And to be coming out of high school to have that kind of spin rate is ridiculous. And this is a team that you remember Al Avila did pick Josh Beckett out of high school. And at the time he got a little pick, but then he was the ace of the 2003 Marlins squad. So to me, and in terms of Motor City Bengals, where he's at on our top 10, or excuse me, on our top list, which I'm totally blanking on right now. I apologize, but he's in our top 5. I know that for a fact. He's in our top 5. And Chris and I were going back and forth about that because I was saying to Chris, hey, I need to see more. But he's like, if every list is saying that, great, take some consensus in that. But look, the Tigers, you're right about the development of pitching. Even guys like Bo Brisky, 27th, 28th round, a draft pick. You had Garrett Hill come out of nowhere last year.
Yeah, Garrett Hill, undrafted.
Yeah. It was. I was thinking of yeah, you're right. And even a guy like Wilmer Flores, who last year the thing about Flores that blows my mind is it's just his third year of professional baseball, and he was the best pitcher in Lakeland last year. He might have some reliever risk to him, but his numbers were insane. And the fact is, the Tigers worked on his windup, simplified it to where he has a leg kick to it now, and he drives home better. It's going to take some time. But overall, getting back to Jobe, this is a team that's even developed a really like Chavez Fernander, 32 round pick out of high school. I think it was in some community college in Florida, and that's unheard of for how much. For how long I've watched the Tigers, the fact that they're getting production out of their late round draft picks, in school being the first left-handed starter to start since Scott Eldred in 1991. That said something to me that they're on the right path, as Cristian said, about developing good pitching. And Jobe, I firmly believe in that. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted Meyer too, but we don't know the behind the scenes stuff behind it. Maybe he didn't want to come here. I don't know. But Jobe is a good guy to go with.
Yep, and we talk about all of those up and coming arms, and you know what we need with all of those arms? We need a really good catcher. So that's my segue to number 4. Number 4 on the list, Dillon Dingler, 23-year-old catcher out of The Ohio State University, drafted 38th overall, signed a $1.95 million signing bonus. Rogelio, how do you see Dingler fitting into what the Tigers are trying to accomplish in the next year or so and long term?
I love it. Well, I actually kind of cringy said the Ohio State University, but I'm a Michigan fan, but I digress. I saw with Dingler an impressive just back picking the way he did on just basically his knees. He has quick release, really good defensive skills. He was already, when he was at West Michigan, kind of leading the staff early on in the season. And you saw him, admittedly, I thought his hitting tool would take some time. It came up a little bit during West Michigan, but then whether the injury was there in Erie or not, affected him, I don't know. But what I saw in Dingler was a guy who's a really good receiver and a guy who can command a pitching staff and just a really good athlete. I mean, as you recall, He did see some time at center field for Ohio State. So I think the hitting tool will need some time. He definitely got power. He surprised us with the power, and the plate discipline, I think, is there too. It's just your first year in pro ball, you're making adjustments. Who knows again how long the finger injury, but in terms of framing, which depending on what happens with the robot zone here and all that, it's still very good. And I really think the Tigers did, for how long they've struggled getting catchers. Sam McMillan comes to mind, Joey Morgan. I could go on and on about that. And Dingler was a really good find, and they fell in his lap in the second round, and they did a really good job of just identifying a player that can really be impactful soon.
Yeah, and I want to stay with you on this one, Rogelio. Who do you see far as a player comp? Is he more of an offensive catcher moving forward, strictly defense, or a good mix?
I think he's a good mix. In terms of his offensive profile, it might take some time because his swing was, I think his swing sometimes has open holes to it, but for a comp, to be honest with you, I don't really have one at the moment off the top of my head, but I would say in a way of, or like in terms of commanding a pitching staff defensively, there are signs of him being kind of like, I'm trying to think of maybe like a Jorge Posada, for example, just a rough comp off the top of my head, but his hitting profile will take some time. The power is definitely there. He can get the ball in the gap, and for speed, he's really speedy too on the base pass, which is, as you guys both know, it's really rare to see in a catcher.
Yep. All right, Cristian, break down your number 4 guy.
All right, so he hit a lot of the points too. He's a great catcher, great on defense. In regards to the hit tool, one thing that I heard was that, especially because he was tearing up West Michigan at the plate too, like hitting the ball hard. When he got to Erie, they focused more on his defense and building the rapport with the pitching staff instead of his hitting.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted him to focus on that, especially the way they were growing together and the way that they're all building up at the same time. They wanted him to really focus on his defensive skills and building that chemistry with the pitching staff. So that's what they wanted him to focus on at AA, which is why he kind of hit those lumps at the plate. So comparison wise to me, he's more of a Sean Murphy kind of, very good power hit tool, really good defender. The contact ability might not be there right now. It could develop over time, but that's kind of the way I see him. Like you said, a great athlete behind the plate, strong arm. He's going to be a really good catcher at the major league level.
And do we have an ETA for him, Cristian? What do you think?
I think 2023. I don't think he'll be up this year at all. It's more going to be next season. It just give him, another full season to really develop, build the chemistry with the arms in the system, and just watch them all grow together.
What about you, Rogelio? You expect him 2023?
Yeah, I expect the same.
All right, let's hop into number 5. Ryan Kreidler, 24-year-old shortstop out of UCLA, was in the 2019 draft, picked 112th overall, signed a $517,000 signing bonus. Rogelio, how do you feel about the Bruin here?
One of those things that when early on last season, we saw that he was among the big league camp, which surprised us because when we first saw him in Connecticut in short A back in 2019, he struggled. And there was in terms of getting a swing together, it just seemed like he had a big swing. And all of a sudden out of nowhere, he's hitting bombs and lasers in Lakeland. And he really, all the offseason work he worked on, he has a very good high motor, very good baseball IQ. And I hate using this cliche because I always hear people say baseball rat, but this guy, it worked on his craft quite a bit. And I think for his range at short, for being his size, I could easily see him going, playing maybe even a little bit of a third base at points. But Kreidler, I think, is a guy who's maybe going to be in terms of like a solid everyday infielder for the Tigers. Is he going to be a MVP kind of guy? No. But again, going back to what I've been talking about, to see the Tigers have an infield, anybody in the infield that they've drafted to come up and actually be impactful, you have to go back quite a bit sometimes. And I'm not talking Will Rhymes. I'm not talking Scott Sizemore, any of these guys who came up as a flash in a pan. I think if Kreidler continues to work on his stroke and maybe perhaps just kind of fix the holes in his swing a little bit, I think you're going to see a guy who could be a good infielder for the Tigers and just somebody who can contribute, which is all you can ask for.
Mm-hmm. Cristian?
I'm such a big fan of Ryan. Such a big fan on and off the field. I mean, he is one of the hardest workers you'll ever meet. Personal story in instructional league, he was hitting, batting practice on the backfields, and there in one of the fields, there's a giant net protecting the cars parked right behind the field. And it's like 50, 60 feet in the air. Kreidler hit a home run over the net in left center field that landed on my windshield, cracked the windshield, cracked it. Incredible. But I couldn't even be mad. Like, it was just so impressive.
Yeah.
But you can tell just every aspect of his and his approach to the game in general just shows the kind of baseball player he's going to become and the impact he's going to have at the major league level. I mean, he would come and ask for his video of his successful at-bats. So when he was struggling, he'd look back at that playlist and see the things that he was doing right.
I've heard of that. Saris has talked about how at the major league level, they will make like little hype videos for the guys.
He does that. Yeah. And so I would send him those videos and he would create a playlist of it and then refer back to it whenever he would, feel like he was struggling with something so he can see exactly the difference between the two. And then, like you said, I think he could play anywhere on the infield. And so my comparison to him is DJ LeMahieu, because DJ LeMahieu, when he was coming up with the Cubs, he was a shortstop, but he was a big shortstop. And Ryan Kreidler is big. But the hit tool was always there. I think he has a little more pop than LeMahieu, especially now. But that's the kind of player. I mean, DJ LeMahieu is just like a player that everybody wants on their team.
Mm-hmm.
He's
very
so
versatile.
Versatile, cerebral, just incredible approach on offense and defense. And that's the kind of player that I see Ryan becoming.
When do you expect Ryan to come up?
I think he could be up later this year. He's developing at that rate. Obviously, with Baez signing, it's kind of a question mark, but it'll just come down to where they need him, because Jonathan Scope is here. It just re-signed. Miggy will be DH. Torkenheimer, splitting time between first, third. So it just depends, but I honestly think he can be up this season later on this year.
Super exciting. Awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, big time.
Cool. All right, let's go through 6 through 10 on Christian's list here, starting with Spencer Torkelson's boy, Gage Workman, number 7, Ty Madden, 8, Isaac Pacheco, 9, Christian Santana, and 10, Odlin Smith. I want to start with you, Christian. Talk about one or two of these guys that stand out and why.
It's Dillon Smith, not Odlin Smith.
Oh, damn it. That makes more sense.
But so Gage Workman is somebody that a lot of people in the organization are really high on, especially like high profile people in the organization that work really like a lot with him just to get him, offensive and defensive side. And you could see the talent that's there. He's another big body guy that can hit the ball hard and make consistent contact throughout. He plays very solid defense. He moves fluid. His hands are really soft. He's going to be a fun player to watch too. But another player I wanted to mention was who Rogelio said before, Garrett Hill, and somebody that not a lot of people talk about. And then he popped up on people's radar when in the fall league this year. He's another cerebral guy in this organization that, he undrafted, had to prove himself and came in and worked really hard. And when he was in West Michigan in 2019, just a specific person that would, use analytics and really utilize all the information that we had for him to really develop his pitches. There's a lot of those guys in this organization, and that's what makes it so fun, and that's what made it so fun. Watching it in person, it was incredible.
What about you, Rogelio?
In terms of Workman, one of the highlights of last year was I got to go to Lakeland for the first time ever, and I stayed in Scranton and went, and I stayed with a buddy of mine down there. And Workman was a guy who hit the ball to all fields with with power, excuse me. And what surprised me for his size is his speed. I mean, he just really tore down the baseball. He tore down the paths. I thought he'd be starting at 30, short. And you could tell at first there was a little bit of adjustment of just kind of trying to figure out short, because short to first is a little different than third. But he still to me, in terms of just the fielding your position, but he had a really good arm. Even when he came up to West Michigan, and just some of the swings he was taking when he dropped his hands, there was a home run he hit that Dan Hasty, the broadcaster of the Whitecaps, said it was the furthest home run he's ever seen at what is it? Forgot Michigan or Lake Michigan, whatever their new name is. So pardon me for ignorance down there, but Workman really surprised me in the sense that you see a guy who comes out there, and we got a chance to interview him. Really humble guy, just works on his craft constantly. And another thing I like about him too is, I mean, I know he struggles against left-handed pitching, but I think that this year he's going to continue to make improvements on that. And I think that's going to help raise his profile even more among outside of the organization. And Gage Workman is, it seems like the Tigers are kind of building out these tall, strong infielders. They're not these 5'11" guys anymore. And Cristian, I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I think Workman represents, like Kreidler, kind of size, speed, and just overall agility.
Yeah, they've definitely made a change in philosophy there. No more the smaller infielders, the smaller players. They're looking for big guys, and it kind of goes to when they took Parker Meadows back in that draft. You could kind of tell when they shifted over to that philosophy. The bigger, longer players that will fill out more often than not. So yeah, it's definitely a new approach that they've taken. And it's paying off for them, because the way that these guys are developing and the way that you're seeing it translate onto the field, it's nice. It's fun. It's definitely exciting.
Yeah, and speaking of a Tigers fan, or as a Tigers fan, seeing kind of what we have developed over the last 15, 20 years, I think it's left a lot to be desired, to say the least. But this has been a great show. Rogelio, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Please plug everything you do, and tell the listeners, where to find you.
So if you want to find all my writings over at MotorCityBengals.com, if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's Tigers Radio Pod. We just dropped an episode with Jeff Pontus, who is now the new writer over at Baseball America, previously for Prospects Live. Joe Drake, the scouting director over at Prospects Live, we also talked to him about the Tigers, what he's seen in Fort Myers, the Don of Fort Myers, as we call him now. He went over quite a bit of games last year, so he saw some live looks. You can find me on Twitter at Rogcast Baseball, and my podcast partner, Chris Brown, 0914, all one word, because Chris and I are a team, and we are a team at Motor City Bengals, and we have some good guys over there who are trying to learn and trying to get better at writing. And I really appreciate the time, and just I love talking Tigers. And when I don't have to host and drive everything, you can notice that I don't stutter. You notice how I'm like just fluent along. It's when you're not juggling all that stuff, it's really a lot easier. But all kidding aside, no, this is those are the things you can find me at. And again, thank you for also subscribe to the Tiger Nightly Report channel, and we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Tigers Radio Pod. All that money goes back to us to travel, gas, all that stuff, because we're kind of like an indie band, and hopefully we get signed to a big thing one day.
And I was not kidding when I referred to you as the godfather of Detroit baseball. You literally do it all. Thank you again for coming on to the show. Yes. Cristian, remind listeners really quick where they can find you and anything you're working on, and we'll get our Sunday going here.
No, everybody knows where to find me, at @CCrest_26. This was a great episode. This is one I was really looking forward to doing. So thank you again, Rogelio, for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you about the Tigers.
Yeah, hopefully we get to talk again, man. Honestly,
absolutely.
This is one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had in quite some time, to talk to somebody else who knows and even I can learn from. So thank you. I
appreciate that. No, absolutely. Whenever you want to talk baseball, I'm here.
Sure.
Man. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. As always, you can find us on the YouTube channel at Triple Play Fantasy. Like, comment, subscribe. We're going to tackle the Kansas City Royals next. And thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.